Welcome to the Seven Figure CEO podcast, where we talk all things marketing strategies, business systems, personal development insights, and conduct interviews with successful CEOs and entrepreneurs. Learn the exact strategies on how seven-figure CEOs market and scale their companies with your host, Chris Rodriguez. Welcome to the Seven Figure CEO podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of having my brother from another mother, Matt Arroyo, on. Second-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, former UFC fighter, Abu Dhabi competitor, amazing husband, amazing father, owner of Gracie, Tampa South, which has been open for 15 years. I'm so excited to have him on. Everybody, please welcome Matt Arroyo. Matt, how you doing?
Hey, good. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I can't believe I haven't had you on, but I'm glad we were able to sync our very busy schedule. So the majority of our listeners are martial art school owners or martial art instructors, program directors, but we also have, just entrepreneurs and business owners as well. Why don't you give a little history? Tell us about your academy. How did it get started? How long you've been in business, number of students and employees, and what you guys offer at Gracie Tampa South.
That was a lot of questions at once, but I'll try. Okay. How did we get started? So I started training with Rob Kahn in 2004. I had played baseball at University of Tampa. And then when I moved to Florida to go play baseball from New York, I realized I was not as good as I thought I was. And these kids were eating and sleeping baseball, and it wasn't going to work out. So I played 2 seasons for UT. And then I eventually decided to try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu after watching Gracie dismantle everybody using this crazy magical art. And in 2003, March, I did my first official class, which was with Gracie at a seminar in New York. I fell in love. I've pretty much been doing it ever since. And I knew shortly after that, I knew I wanted to eventually have my own gym. So I moved to Florida, back to UT, and Rob Kahn had moved to Florida in 2004. So I'd only been training about a year and a half. And me and Rob always kid because I was a pretty crappy blue belt, just training with a bunch of white and blue belts. That's all I had back then. And when I met Rob, everything clicked. His techniques, as you know, are amazing. And I got really good, really fast. Within 6 months, I got my purple belt from being a crappy brand new blue belt. 6 months later, under Rob, purple belt, I was tapping black belts. And that's really when I knew for sure this is what I wanted to do. Like 6 months after meeting Rob, I'm like, this is it. I eventually want to open my own school. I don't know what's going to happen when that's going to happen. I just know eventually I want to do that. Rob's business was flourishing back then. He was the only business in town for really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in South Tampa. There was another one in Clearwater, but I didn't have a car. I was going to UT, and Rob was the man. So this was perfect for me. And I told him when I got my pro belt, I said, listen, I eventually want to open a gym. So I said it right away. I was like, this is amazing. I'm watching what you're doing. You're having a blast. You're teaching. You're changing people's lives, and you're making decent money doing it. And this is what I want to do. I was selling life insurance at the time. And I thought that was so cool because I got to wear a suit. Like, when you're thinking about success, you see these guys dressed up and they're in suits and they're making all this money. And I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. Let me sell life insurance door to door. Like, it was terrible. But I did it for a year and a half and I learned a lot. I went door to door, which is really hard to do. You got to have rejection. And I learned a little bit about sales and just not being afraid to talk to people. And, but I knew I didn't want to do that. And just around that time, we have a good friend, Monsa Lobsta. He joined our team, and within 6 months, he's in the cage fighting. I had never had any intentions on going into that cage. I was terrified. It's like, who the hell wants to get their face punched in? But then when I saw our good friend Monsa Lobster, Alan Barubi, go in that cage and guillotine someone in under 3 minutes, that night I was there watching. That night, I was like, man, I destroy him on the mats, and he just. I need to I at least owe it to myself to do one. So that night, Rob Kahn was right there. And I forget his name. CFC Orlando, Chris something. Anyway, he was there as well. He was a promoter for that show, and it was in 2 months. I said, Rob, get me a fight, man. Whoever you got to talk to, Joe Valdez for RFC, whoever. So he talked to the guy, who did CFC in Orlando, and there was a card in 2 months. They got me a fight, and 2 months to that day, I was walking out to my first official MMA fight. Terrified, but hey, let's do it. I went in, I choked the guy in under a minute, and I was hooked. Again, I didn't really. The only reason I did the second fight was because I had so much fun with the first one, and the only reason I had so much fun with the first one was because I won. And it was like a training camp, which we didn't know what the hell we were doing back then, but we just did a lot of jiu-jitsu, some striking, and that's it. So fought my second time, got my ass beat by Matt Brown. Yes, the Matt Brown, who's still fighting today at 41 years old, still beating people. And then I didn't want to do MMA anymore. I'm like, this is stupid, right? When you win, you're on the all-time high. This feeling is the best feeling in the world. When you lose, it's the complete opposite. You're just destroyed. You don't ever want to feel that again. So I was like, I'm done. Our good friend Monsalapsta, what did he do next? He took another couple fights, and then he got on the Ultimate Fighter. And I watched this guy who I destroy. And I'm going to say it over and over. He's going to watch this. He's going to call me and mess with me. But again, he was a white belt, so I'm supposed to destroy him. I was a purple belt. And then he gets on the Ultimate Fighter. And it's funny when you have a good friend who you're, close with and you hang out with every day, do something big like that, you could do it. Like you just feel like you could do it, which is like the power of the mastermind, right? You see these people making 6 figures, 8 figures, whatever, and you're with them all the time and you talk to them all the time. Now I could do it. So I decided that day I'm going to take another fight. I didn't want to. I was like, all right, 1-1. I'm good. I was like, I want to get on that show. He came off the show. I went to a UFC with him. People were asking for his autograph. I was 24 years old, man. That's what I wanted. I wanted it bad. I wanted that publicity, that notoriety, that fame. There wasn't really much money in it, but it would have been cool anyway just to be in the UFC, to say you were in the UFC. So I decided, I said, dude, you made all the connections. Get me on this show. You could be my manager, whatever. I'll give you 10%, whatever you want. Just let's do this. And he's like, okay. So he took me to the tryout. He told me exactly what to do, exactly what to say. He scripted every word for the interview. He got me all the way to I did the grappling part. I choked some kid. I did the striking part. I punched the mitts. Got to the final stage, which is the interviews, which is the most important part, especially back then when it was on Spike TV, when they were looking for personalities rather than just, guys who wanted to go in and kill.
I was going to say what Alan made up for talent, he made up with personality. And that's really what ended up getting him on that show.
Dude, he is a black belt in personality. He got on. I think he had just gotten his blue belt when he got on the show. He lost his first fight, but he made an impact. He got kicked off the show. He got pretty, popular from it. But he got me on, and I did the show. I did okay. I beat the first 2 guys. I got an injury. I went to the finale. I beat that guy. I got a UFC contract. And then around 2007, when the show was airing, when it first aired in September 2007, I thought Rob had just given me my brown belt, and I thought this is the time. If it's going to be a time, South Tampa was prime for the taking. There was nothing. Rob had his school in North Tampa, so 15 miles away was here I was. Nobody was open. Rob had the only Gracie Tampa. I was the second guy, and there's probably 20 now, but I was the first guy to do or person to do a school with Rob, and it was in 2007. I thought that was the right time. He thought it was the right time. So in 2007, November, I found a spot right over by the Air Force Base, which was by my house at the time here in South Tampa. It was 1,000 square feet. It looked like a hallway. It was like maybe 20.
It was a rectangle, just a straight rectangle.
Hallway. It was maybe 15 feet wide and like 25 feet long. And I had a desk, a computer, a phone, and a mat and a bathroom. That was it. Green mats. We built them. It was like
green mats. I remember them.
I saw the Henner and Huron. I'm like, they got green mats. That's awesome. Let's do it. We bought the vinyl. And that was the first school, the birth of the first school. We actually had 3 partners because I was fighting in the UFC. I'd just gotten on the show. I was about to fight in the finale the next month. I had to do a training camp. I couldn't do this by myself. So Rob Kahn, Ron Nagel, and myself were 1/3 partners each. And we opened it up. I was teaching classes here and there where Ron the Ferret was teaching most of them until my fight was over. And then I kind of took back over and did a lot of it. And we built it to 40 students in 2 years. We were killing it. We were on a roll. I was rich. No, but I did get fight of the night in the UFC in December 2007. I remember taking home 40 grand. It was the most money I ever saw in my life. I didn't grow up with money or wealth or anything like that. So that to me was like, I made it. I had 40 grand, so I paid off my credit cards that I was living off of to get on the show, had a little bit of money in the bank. And for the next few years, was just trying to grow the school and fight in the UFC at the same time, which I do not recommend. If you're starting a school while you're in the midst of your fighting career, you have to put 100% into anything you're going to have success in. And if you split it 50-50 or 80-20, or, you know, back and forth like a seesaw, both are going to do crappy. And that is exactly what happened. I lost my next 2 fights. I got my butt kicked by Matt Brown again. I thought, you know, I won four wins in a row. It's time to get this guy. And, you know, I beat him up in round 1, but he came back in round 2 and got me. And then the next fight I lost again. There's no excuse. I wasn't ready. And I didn't devote 100% into one thing. I tried to split it. And that's a big success lesson, is everybody thinks they're doing 100, but they're probably not. You know, they're probably dividing it up into other things. And to be ultra successful in anything, you have to put everything you have into it. And that was what I committed to do after the UFC cut me in 2009. So you lose 2 in a row, you're pretty much out of the UFC. And that's what happened. And I decided, okay, there's the fork in the road. I could go left or I could go right. Left would be, I'm going to drive down to Miami. I'm going to join ATT. I'm going to move to Miami, right? It was just me and my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, girlfriend at the time, and just move there and go to ATT every day and become the badass fighter and just put 100% into it. Or my original goal, the thing I really, truly wanted, that I desired, that the fire was just in me for a martial arts school. So it was an easy decision for me. I thought about it for about 2 minutes. I'm like, well, that'd be cool. I could be in the UFC and make 10 grand a fight. Or I could do what I really loved, which is jiu-jitsu, you know, and not get my face punched in. I already got a busted nose. I had this knuckle, you can't see, but it's broken still. And my ankles broke, both of them in fights and training camps, and my knees. And that's just a 06 to 09 fighting career. What's going to happen, you know, 3 years from then, 4 years from then, with highest level fighters in the world? I didn't want that. I want to roll with my grandkids. I want to do jiu-jitsu. So that's what I did. In 09, I committed. I'm like, you know what? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't know business. I don't know marketing. I know a little sales. I did some life insurance, but I don't know any of that. But I need to learn it. And if I can't find someone to teach me, I'm going to just learn by trial. And from 09 to about 11, I just put everything I had into it with the little knowledge I had in my brain. I started to learn a little bit of internet marketing around 09, early 10. So I started implementing that, and I started to get some results. So we grew from 40 to 100 students, which I was super proud of. I was like, man, we got over 10 grand a month coming in. This is amazing. I never thought, you know, that it could happen like that. And I was like, this is just so cool. And then I was like, but I need more knowledge. I need to get more knowledge. I need more marketing. I need more digital marketing, more any marketing. That's when Mr. Lloyd Irvin jumped on the scene around 2010, 2011, started doing his mixed martial arts millionaire seminars. And just like a lot of us, we went to it and we just got our minds blown, because he's the first one that I know of to bring that level of marketing and sales into actual MMA, not karate. Karate's had business like Mike Metzger and those guys. They've been doing this for years in the karate taekwondo space, crushing it. But we didn't have anybody that was like one of us at the time, like an MMA guy, a jiu-jitsu guy, coming in and just showing how it works for an MMA school, which really there's so many similarities. We should have just followed the karate guys, but we were stubborn. So we found the MMA guy. He was at the right place at the right time, teaching the right thing. He made a ton of money. We used his systems, plugged them in. We just blew up from there. And, stuff happens with him, and he loses his reputation. Bad things happen. I don't want to talk about that, but he's off the scene. But we learned a lot, right? That was a good foundation for what we were doing. And from 2011 to 2012, just 1 year. And actually, Chris helped me a lot with the implementation, because she was there too, implementing all of it. And I was like, oh man, I could do this myself, or I can just grab some of her stuff. Yo, give me some of your forms. She was really, you were really good at implementing fast. And I was just kind of like, let's just do it together. And that's what we did. And you grew Rob's school to hundreds of students, and I grew the South School. And at that time, we had bought out the Ferret, our third partner, and he moved to Guatemala or somewhere. And then it was just me and Rob, and I was the majority partner, and he was just kind of silent. And, I was only 15 miles from him. So I didn't mind, just paying him. And anytime I needed him, he was always there. But he had his school to help run, and I had this one. And it was a good deal for a long time. And we grew it to 300 students. We moved locations. So from that little spot, when we had 40 students, we moved to a gym. It was called Choice Fitness. So we were in a fitness gym, which kind of sucked, but it allowed us to grow to $100 with very low expenses. And then in 2012, once we implemented all those systems, we grew to over 100 students, 150, and then we moved over to our own spot. Beautiful. And I didn't even know it at the time how good that spot was, because I didn't just have the knowledge of the area. I just went to college. I was in my little bubble. But then when you're a grown up out of college and you see around what areas are nice in Tampa, I was in like the richest part of Tampa. I didn't even know it. I just thought, wow, I'm on a main road. This is great. It was a nice little spot, 3,500 square feet. We had 2 mat rooms, a front lobby, showers, and my own office, and a couple bathrooms. It was great. And we grew from 100 to 300 students from 2012 to 2014. And it was great. It was the first time I was actually making money to pay my own bills and feeding my family, and just being able to save. And it was beautiful. I was in my late 20s, so 12, I just turned 30. And it was perfect timing. Me and my wife got married, and it was good. So I was like, this is too good to be true. And, sometimes things are too good to be true, because everybody's got the story where it went downhill. And here's the part for me. So I thought I needed a huge spot. I didn't have people telling me I didn't. I wanted that mega gym. I saw ATT. I saw all these big gyms. And I'm like, that's what I need. I need that. Really, you don't. You can make this as much money with a small gym. I know that now. Hindsight's 2020. But
I think you're the one that told me gross feeds the ego, net feeds the family. The first time I ever heard that was from you.
Yeah,
right?
I read that in a book and it resonated. And I'm like, man, so yeah, you can gross millions of dollars in that huge school, but you have huge expenses. So when I look back, if I knew what I know now, I probably would have, whatever. Everything happens for a reason. But maybe I would have stayed in that 3,500 square foot spot, optimized it better. And then, when you run out of space, you hold waiting lists and you just profit every month. It's great. But I got big expenses now. So what we did was, my down story is I had 330 students. I remember perfect, 330 students. We had a 2-year lease on that place, 2012 to 2014. And I was supposed to tell the landlord 6 months before the lease ended. It was February 14 when it ended, 6 months before. Yes, I want to stay, or no, I don't. And I was getting cocky. I was getting whatever. School was growing, 30, 40, 50, 60 signups a month. It was crazy. We were busting out the seams. I said, there's no way we could stay here. We have to move. I said, we're going to find a place. Go ahead, rent it out. We'll be ready in 6 months. I hire a realtor. I look online myself with LoopNet and all this other stuff. And we didn't find anything. And months went by, 2 months, 3 months. I'm getting worried, and I don't get worried. I just go with the flow. I'm like, okay, we got 3 months. It's plenty of time. We'll find a spot. We'll get everybody in. 2 months, 1 month. I pick up the phone. Now I'm worried. I told my fiance at the time. Actually, no, she was my wife at the time. I said, I'm worried. We have nowhere to go. We have 330 loyal students who want to stay with us and keep doing what they're doing, but they're bumping into each other every roll. We need to move, but now we have to move. We have nowhere to go. We have 1 month. My realtor's like, Matt, there's nothing. You need parking. You need AC. You need the space. You need South Tampa. There was nothing at the time. And I was like, crap. So what do? I look across the street. I see a CrossFit gym. I walk over. I say, it's 10,000 square feet. I say, hey, man, I got to talk to the owner. I find the owner. We sit down. How would you like it if starting next month, I come in here, I put some mats down, a couple, 1,000 square feet of mats here, maybe 1,000 there. And I lease some space from you for maybe 2 months, 3 months tops. We're going to find a spot. And I'll give you $4,000 a month, because that's about what I was paying at the time. I was paying $4,400 a month. His eyes lit up because he was actually going out of business. He's like, dude, you're a godsend. Get in here. Put your mats down. Only problem was 5,000 square feet of the CrossFit gym was air conditioned, which was where the weights were, like machines. But then that outside area was not air conditioned, and that's where our mats were. And we live in Florida, and that thing gets to 90 degrees with humidity in the summer. So in the beginning, it was okay. It was February, whatever. But then, man, it was only supposed to be there 3 months, so I didn't care. It ended up being 10 months. We couldn't find a spot. Our realtor finally was like, Matt, I got the spot. I got the guy. He's going to do a build out for you. He's going to add it into the lease. You don't have to pay $1. The parking is plenty. It's 100 spots. Great spot. I fell in love with the location. Chris helped me with the build out. What should we do? What should we put here, there? We built it all out. And in November of 14. So February to November, we went from 330 students to about 100 students. So we're like back to square one. Why? Because they were sweating. They were like dying. They were rolling and they were dying. I get it. I would have probably left too. And then new people, we weren't signing up. Why? Because they didn't see a jiu-jitsu or an MMA gym. They saw a CrossFit gym with a little section. And I get it too. I wouldn't have joined either. So I wasn't, mad at anyone, but at the same time, I had to survive, and I had to make another decision, another fork in the road. That was a perfect time to quit. If I was going to quit, that would have been it. And I was like, you know what? Screw that. I've come too far. I've tasted what it could do. We're going to get that again. We just got to get in this spot. We eventually found the spot, moved in. I wiped out most of my savings because it was 9,000 square feet, 3 times the space that I was in. I had to buy $150 per mat, zebra mats, as all of you probably know, weight equipment, furniture. I just wiped myself clean. I'm like, all right, I'm going all in. Let's do it. And this was around 2014. And then 14 to 15 was rough. We started to like remarket, get things out there. 15 to 16 was better. 16 to 17 was great. 17 on was just fantastic. So we're in a 9,000 square foot spot. I'm about to make another fork in the road because I got to decide if I'm going to try to buy a building now because our lease ends in November of 2022 here, or sign 5 years, 3 years, whatever, sign another long-term lease. But yeah, that takes us, there was obviously some challenges with COVID as we all had, but I'm sure we'll get to that. But yeah, that brings us to today.
So here we are today. You're in this 9,000 square foot facility in the heart of South Tampa, which is an amazing area to be. Over the years, lots of other jiu-jitsu schools and MMA schools have popped up, but you guys have remained the largest. What is your student count at roughly about right now?
It's so hard to answer that question because there's paying students, there's people on family plans, there's this, that, but I'd say there's 600 something people right now, like everybody together, between all the people who are on paid in fulls, family plans, employees that still train, all that together, in the sixes.
Amazing success story from where you started in that little hallway with the green mats to where you're at. It's because of you that I actually found Rob Kahn. I was at USF. I was going for my degree in education. There was a group project in one of my classes, and I got paired up with this kid, Katie. And I hate group projects anyways. And then I was just annoyed as well that I, had to do it. And we started talking about jujitsu. Yep. And he goes, yeah, I train over at this Gracie school. And I was already a blue belt at the time. I was training with Eduardo de Lima, the only other guy in the area who was out in Clearwater. So very, very far drive. And Katie makes this statement, and I'll never forget it. He goes, yeah, one of our purple belts just got 4 stripes on their belt at one time. And I'm thinking, like, what kind of a joke is this jiu-jitsu school where they're handing out 4 stripes on a purple belt at one time? And I said, I got to go check this place out. So I went and checked it out. And sure enough, you were the purple belt who got those 4 stripes on their belt. And it was inside, he was subleasing maybe 1,000 square feet, if that. I mean, it was like the size of my office was the size of the school, but that's really where your career began. I remember driving out to Orlando and watching that first fight where you choked the guy out. And it literally was because of you that I found, Gracie Tampa, and our friendship, has flourished since then. So I got to touch on this. You said, obviously, there were some challenges with COVID. This is a question that I always ask anybody because, I feel like the true entrepreneurs were born during 2020. So how were you guys affected by COVID? And if you had to kind of sum up your game plan, what was it?
Yeah, I mean, we were flying high, man. Everybody was. The economy was doing great. Love Trump or hate him. The economy was doing great in 2019, end of 2019. Everyone was killing it. Everybody I knew that had a business was crushing it. And whenever you hear that, you always got to worry a little bit because it could be a bubble, right? And what happened, as we all know, 2020, February, March, we found out that there was this virus and it was out getting people and whatever, getting publicized and politicized and whatever your views are on that. I'm not going to share that with this podcast. But yeah, we had to close in the middle of, was it March or May? I forget. March.
Yeah, second week of March.
Second week of March, we closed, and luckily, Chris here had a really good game plan for everybody. And to be honest, I was just following your lead. You were the one who rose up as the leader and the authority in the MMA world, in the jiu-jitsu world, martial arts world, of here's what we're going to do. You guys could do what we're going to do and follow and save your business. And I honestly just did what you said. And the only one thing I didn't do that you did say was I didn't want to buy all those freaking dummies. And I just thought to myself, I just don't want to do it. I don't know, like maybe in hindsight I should have, but that's the one thing. Everything else, we were doing the Zooms, we were doing, and of course we both knew digital marketing and the Zoom and all that stuff. So that helped. But yeah, we took off about 2 months. So from March to like May. And I remember reopening in May, we had to do this stupid tape thing and all that. But yeah, we had a lot of people freeze. And I do not blame one person who froze because they weren't working either. There were luckily a big handful of people who were able to work from home, and their income didn't change one bit throughout the whole thing. And thank God we were in Florida. Ron DeSantis, I think, did an amazing job.
Best governor ever.
Yeah, I mean, it could have went either way for him because he made a decision. He decided what he was going to do, and he stuck to it no matter what. That, okay, this isn't the worst thing in the world. It's he followed like real numbers and real science and all that, and he decided to do that. Now, if we all died from it, he'd be the biggest idiot in the history of governor, whatever. But he got lucky, and he had the right timing, and he had the right mindset and strategy, and he busted through. And really, those 2 months sucked. I didn't collect much of a paycheck. I made sure that my staff was paid, and every one of them got paid in March and April and May as if they were working the whole time. And I wanted to save everybody, not save, but like just take care of them and make sure that when this is over, they're going to be coming back and they're not like dying, whatever, from their bills and all that. And, we had to do the Zoom classes. We had me and a few other instructors meet me in there. I felt like Billy Blanks, doing, whatever, kickboxing and, how do you do jiu-jitsu with the Zoom? We did our best, right? And we did exactly what Chris said to do. And we had, a good handful of people on each week. We did challenges, 30-day challenges that kept everybody engaged while they were, just locked down. Everyone was in the same situation. There wasn't a soul on this planet that wasn't locked down. The actors, the millionaires, the billionaires, they're all in the same situation. So it leveled the playing field. We all did what we could to save our businesses. And unfortunately, the people who were in New York, a lot of my friends in New York and California, some of them lost their businesses, and it really sucks. I felt really fortunate to be here in Florida. We were only out 60 days. We got back in. I was super grateful. A lot of my students continued to pay. We were giving them all these offers like, hey, if you want a gym to train at when we get back from this, because we will get back from this, just keep paying. We'll hook it up on the end of your agreement. We'll throw those extra 2 months on for free. We'll give you, I gave them all my DVDs, a digital version. We have 14 of them. I gave it all to them. I gave them, the Zooms, everything I could, discounts on gear when they got back, whatever it was, whatever we had to do, we did. And everybody that still has a business today are the fighters, are the ones with the grit, the ones in round 3 that could keep going, and not just fold. And it paid off because 2 months later, I always say COVID for me, at least for my business, and a lot of my friends' businesses in Florida, was 2 steps back to take 20 steps forward, because 2 things happened after COVID. One, obviously the lockdown, ceased and everyone was allowed to get back out. So all these people who were sitting in their rooms watching some of their family members die, and not even be able to go to the hospital or a funeral to see them, realized, oh man, this could have been me. I'm not going to hold back. When this is over, when I'm allowed to go back out, I hate even saying that. When I could go back out into the world, I'm going to do what I always wanted to do. And a lot of for those people, it was MMA. They always wanted to try a class out, but they were intimidated, or they didn't have the time, or they didn't have the money, or this or that. It was always an excuse. Now they're like, screw this. Life is short. I'm going to do it. And the second thing that happened that not a lot of people talk about is freaking the stud that he is, Dana White, was the only one running live events during the lockdown. There was no basketball. Those guys who were on the couch with the beer and the pizza and the weed watching football, they weren't doing that anymore. There was no football. The only thing that was on was UFC, and he put it on every single weekend. So I would go to say hundreds of thousands of people who would have never been a UFC fan, an MMA fan, are now watching this because there's nothing else to watch. And they're like, oh, that is pretty cool. oh man, John Jones is awesome. Oh wow, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Now when COVID's over, they are now fans. They are now hooked. So all these people now who are hooked are now watching it. And what do you want to do when you watch it? Like, I want to learn that rear naked choke. That's pretty cool. So you got UFC still going on during COVID. You got Joe Rogan, who's the man also, just spitting out jujitsu every podcast and how it benefits everybody. You got all these people who are just dying to get out and do something, dying to get exercise again, dying to do something different and fun that they never have done before. And then you got all these freaking people, mass exodus from California, New York, and the Northeast, and all these Democratic states moving to Florida, and all these extra people coming in to train. It's just insane. I signed up more higher belts than I ever signed up in my life in 2021. The purple belts coming, blue belts, brown belts, black belts. So it was a perfect storm of all those four things. Joe Rogan, UFC just staying on and everyone becoming fans, people wanting to do what they never did before, people moving into Florida. All that came together for us because we were the ones that were able to stay open and not shut down and, not go out of business. We had, 13 years of business at the time, a good reputation in Tampa, lots of students loving the spreading the word, and all that. 2021 was by far a record year. And so far 2022 is surpassing 2021.
I love it. So let's shift gears to one of our favorite topics, which is marketing. I am the marketer I am today because of you. I'll never forget being in your house, and you had just launched the BJJ Manifesto with Rob Kahn, and you showed me your email, which had just sale after sale after sale after sale, half of them coming in at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., literally making money while you slept. And it was that day where I said, I have got to learn this. And you taught me everything in terms of ClickFunnels, right? That's when ClickFunnels was just coming out, Russell Brunson's software. You taught me everything about creating nurture sequences. You taught me about video marketing, and you taught me how to run Facebook ads. And I would not be the marketer I am today if it wasn't for you and sharing that with me. So in regards to marketing your school, a lot of schools that focus on developing MMA fighters don't usually become profitable. So how were you able to create this amazing MMA team where you've gotten guys on The Ultimate Fighter, you have UFC fighters on your roster, but you're still able to pay the bills? What do you think that you're doing differently than the average MMA school who is trying to develop amateur fighters and pro fighters? What are you doing differently that they're doing? Because most people know MMA fighters typically don't have money to pay the bills.
Yeah. And it's funny you were saying with the sales coming in at midnight, and a mind once expanded can never contract back. Once you see that and you taste that, there's no going back. It's like when you start your own business, you can't go back to a regular job after that. It just doesn't work. The thing that I think I did differently is really, to be honest, from 07 to 12-ish, 13-ish, I was focused on the fighters. That's why we weren't making any money. I did. And then when I actually did learn the marketing that I talked about in 2011, I tried doing both again, the main thing is systems. I mean, it boils down to systems. If you don't have systems, then you got to do everything, and you got to worry about everything. And you always have to worry about what's going to happen next. So if you put systems in place, and a system is just the way things are done, right? A certain way things are done. And you put a person and you train them to run that system. You look at McDonald's. How could it be run by 16-year-olds and it be like billions and billions dollar company? Because of the systems. Like, there's a perfect way to make that cheeseburger and get it out. And from everything they say to the person coming in, would you like to supersize that? Would you like this? You don't want to call it a McDojo because it's not, but you need systems. You need systems, and you need people to run the systems. And as long as you have the systems in place, you don't really have to be there. So what I learned quickly was I don't want to teach every class. I don't want to do all this all day. I'm just one person. Yeah, I have the knowledge. That's the whole saying. Nobody could do it as good as me, blah, blah, blah. But that mentality gets you just working in your job. If you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or his second book, which I like even better, which is the Cash Flow Quadrant, he talks about ESBI: employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. So there's the left side, E and S, employee. And so if you're just working in your job all day, you are an S. You're self-employed. You're the chiropractor that sits there from morning to night, adjusting people all day. You're the doctor that sits there. Yeah, it's your business, and everything you're putting in comes to you. But how do you love your life? Do you like your life? Do you like working all day? And if you do, there's no right or wrong. It's what you want and what you love. If you love working all day on people, if you love teaching private lessons and classes all day, then don't do systems. Just put yourself in and do it all day. But I don't want that, because I did do that. And I realized it wasn't making me love jujitsu like I used to, when I had to teach so much and I had to do morning, night, privates in between, morning, night, privates in between, mopping the mats, answering the phones. That's crazy. In my mentality, because I want my time. I want to buy time. I will pay money for time any day of the week. So the way you do that is you develop systems, and you don't even have to develop them. Chris right here has all the systems. I still use them all, and just use the systems that you're taught by someone who's doing what you want to do, and hire people. Obviously you can't do it in the beginning. You got to do it. And I recommend you do it in the beginning, because you need to learn it good enough to teach it. And how are you going to teach an armbar on your first day of jiu-jitsu? Like, you have to do it for a while, learn it, and then you could become a teacher. And you start with the phone, someone to answer the phones. Here's the script, do that. Then you go with sales. Okay, when they come in, this is how you sell. And then, you hire more coaches. You develop some ninjas under you, and they become really good. You develop them, and now they're the coach. Give up control. And that was very hard for Chris. I remember even
Yes.
it was only like a few years ago. She was teaching a bunch of classes. I'm like, are you crazy? And she does love teaching, right? I mean, but when you do it that much, you said you were teaching what, 20 something classes a week?
It's 32 classes a week I was teaching. It's nuts.
I remember,
you get burnt out.
When you said that, I remember thinking, like, I would die after week one. Maybe I'm not that tough. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't be able to do 32 classes in a week, especially kids. But you have a talent for that, and you have a work ethic for that. So I don't, but I prefer teaching adults. But yeah, so if you don't have systems, you can't do that. So one thing we did after we learned all the systems is we implemented them, and I wasn't afraid to give up control. I was like, you know what? I'd rather give up control and have it done not as good as me, because I've been teaching longer than all these people. So of course I'm probably going to teach a better class, but maybe I could develop them to teach a pretty damn good class. And that's good enough, because guess what? These other people are coming in. They're not going to know the difference. They're brand new. This is my teacher. And so I developed a guy named Troy Taylor. And what I had him do, honestly, because I was teaching 5 private lessons a day. I teach the morning class, 5 privates, and then the night class. And I would do that every day. And I had him be the guy that I do the moves on in the privates, so I could teach him how to teach without really, taking extra time out of my schedule. I was making money to teach one of my guys how to teach. And he didn't miss one lesson, and he learned so much, and he became our first kids instructor, and also our first intro adult instructor. And it was great. I remember the day I was like, all right, you're teaching these 4. Now I'm just teaching the nights, or my advanced class. And I was like, oh, this is so awesome. I'm like, well, what if I could take 2 more classes out and give it to someone like Coach Shane, who is one of my first black belts? And maybe he wants to teach. And of course they want to teach, because once you get good at something, you want to show your style. So I put him in place. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I got to pay some money, but I just bought some time. This is amazing. And when the money was coming in, it wasn't that hard to do that. I was still collecting a pretty good check. They were making money. They were teaching. Everybody was happy. Salespeople, front desk people, people to clean the mats. At one point I was like, I just want to teach. This was like maybe, let's say 2013. I was like, I just want to teach twice a week. That's it. And I'll work with the fighters and, in between, in the day, in the morning, whatever. But I only want to teach twice a week. So I made Monday, Tuesday, my 2 days. The rest of them I started hiring out. And now what did I have? I had time. Oh my gosh, I got out of my business and made time. And now I could work on my other business, which was Lumi Publishing, which was, doing all the products, the courses, the digital courses for jiu-jitsu, and then more school owner stuff. And I had time to kind of venture out and do other things. And the business kept growing, and it kept growing, and it wasn't taking a hit. It didn't think what you think it will do, which is, oh, once I pull myself out, everybody's going to be upset. Nobody's going to be upset, because you're going to, if you know marketing and sales, you're going to friggin' sign up 20 to 40 more people the next month. They won't even know you were ever in there, all those classes. And soon, 6 months to a year, it's going to be more new people than the people you had that care. So you got to, as long as you have the marketing and the sales and the systems, don't be afraid to pull yourself out. if you want to be pulled out. If you don't want to be pulled out and you love teaching, you want to be there, you want to be the guy, the man that everybody looks up to, the woman that everybody looks up to, the person that everybody wants to look up to, and you're still young enough to kill everybody on the mats and you want to be that person, do it. But as you get older, you may not be that person anymore, and you may have to start recruiting, or you want to recruit them early, that they could be that person that comes up. And you can just kind of, I love being at the gym. I'm there all day, and it's not because I have to be. I could sit at home all day, and sometimes I do. I'll just read books all day at home. I'll work on myself, and I'll be like, you know what? I haven't read a good long book in a while. I haven't took just 5 hours to just sit here and read in a while. I'm going to do that right now. And I have the luxury to do that. And guess what? That helps me more with my business than sometimes me being there, do this, do that, no, it's all pick up that up. Just working on me. Like, okay, now I know more. I'm tougher now. I learned that book. I learned this millionaire, this billionaire, this successful, healthy person, this successful whatever. I just modeled their mindset for a few hours. I have that now. I'm a better business owner now. I'm a better person now. I'm a better employer. I'm a better husband, wife, whatever you are, right? And sometimes that's the best thing you can do. But guess what? You're not going to be sitting around reading books if you have to teach class and do this and do that and do that. So yeah, you learn the marketing, and it's easy. It's Facebook ads, it's Google AdWords. You can learn it yourself, or you could hire Chris to his team to do it for you. It's up to you. If you have the funds, you hire someone so that you can, again, buy back your time. That's what I did. I learned Facebook ads. It was fun. It was awesome. I did a course on it. I started teaching people and coaching people. And then, I'm like, you know what? This is taking a lot of time. And I have 3 kids now. So as I was coming up, it was 1 kid, then 2, now 3, and I'm at the point I'll be 40 this year. So this is my 40th birthday this year, September. And my time now is in my head. I want to spend it with my family. I want to be around my kids as much as I can. They're all young, 8, 6, and 2, and that's what I did, and from my son's first birthday in 2014 to now, he cannot say that I was absent. I was there every freaking second of every freaking thing, from him to my second daughter to my other daughter. So it's all, and I've spoke about this at some of Chris's events. It's all about your lifestyle design. It's what do you want? There is no right or wrong answer. It's not what does my mom want or my dad want for me. It's not what does my students want for me. They want you to teach every class. If you ask your students, what do you want? And if you're not just sitting down sometimes without Netflix on, without your computer or your phone on, if you're not just sitting down and thinking like, what do I want? Let me get a piece of paper. Let me sit with a piece of paper and a pen and no distractions and start writing down, how do I want my life to be? Do you want to teach 50 classes a week, or do you want to just teach 1? Or do you not want to teach at all? How many classes does Mike Metzger teach?
0.
Right? That was his lifestyle design. I'd still want to teach. I want to teach twice a week. For me has been a godsend for the last 9 years. And it's just amazing. Like, I still love jiu-jitsu. Every time I go, I'm excited. Like, I wasn't excited when I was teaching every class. I was dreading it. I'm like, I tried to act and make like I wasn't for the students, right? They don't deserve that. They deserve better. They deserve a Disney World. Like, they come in, it's a happy place. So I had to fake it, but I was like, oh gosh, I hope this private cancels. I hope this private cancels. And they didn't.
I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from you, because prior to Lucas, your first child being born, you would pull those 12, 14, 16-hour days.
That was fun.
And then the second Lucas was born, your mindset shifted. And it was all about, how can I be present with my child, but still have a successful business? Because I think most people feel like one's got to give. I'm either a present parent and my business drops down, or I'm just all in on the business and I'm not a present parent. And I think you have done an amazing job with being able to run the successful school and be that successful parent. And it was definitely motivating and inspiring for me when my son was born.
Yep.
I got a couple of typical questions we've got to hit. This is the number one question you see in the martial arts groups. What offer do you guys typically push to get people into Gracie Tampa South? What does that look like? What does that offer?
It's so funny. I used to think the same question. It's really not that important. Any offer that's decent is going to work. I mean, you just got to get it in front of enough people. Like, I've done the 30-day free trial, the 1 free class, the 3 classes for $20, the 2 weeks for $40. Like, it doesn't matter. Pick an offer. Here's what you do. I'm going to teach you right now. Get a market muscle site. That's standard. Get a market muscle site today, because that changed almost everything for us when we were doing our transitional period. Get a market muscle site because it converts. Okay. If you don't do anything else, get that. Now you have a website where if 10 people go, you're going to get, 3 or 4 people to opt in, right? Then go over to Chris, hire a Grow. I'm not just saying this because it's our podcast. Hire a GoPro to get you leads. If you don't know how to get leads yourself, if you know how to get leads yourself, do it. You hire those 2 people. It's going to cost you some bucks, but it's going to pay you back over and over. How many times would you trade $5 for $100, right? You'd get as many $5 as you could. You'd borrow $5 to keep doing it to get more $100. So they're already experts. So you can do 2 choices. You can make yourself an expert, which is going to take some time and some energy and a lot of time, really. And maybe you're not even that good at it because you don't know how to craft, different copy. There's a lot of skills you need to learn to run ads and create marketing. So you can hire them. They'll get the leads that go to your Market Muscles website. And I promise you, Market Muscles website converts. I used all of them. I used, what was it?
97 Display.
97 Display was the one right before.
FCOM?
And was
FCOM.
FCOM. I used them. I used just a regular dude who just made like a WordPress site. None of that was working. And I see these, I see their ads, FCOM, and there's nothing against them. It seems like they're doing a good job for people. But it said, can you imagine if you got 50 leads a month? I'm like, what? We get like 100. We had 140 leads last month. Like, that's good, I guess. But dude, it's getting people to the site, but it's converting. You can get 5 million people to your website, but if nobody's opting in, you're screwed. So get them to run the traffic to your thing. You got to use the tools of the Titans, right? I wouldn't call myself a Titan. I'm doing pretty good. There's guys who are doing way better than me. Girls are doing way better than me in their schools, but I'm using the tools that these people use. So why am I going to do it myself? Why am I going to reinvent the wheel? It's already invented. I'm telling you right now what to do. Get a Market Muscle site today. It's not even that expensive. Use Chris for the ads. She's going to run Google, Facebook, Instagram. Those are the 3 that you need to be on. If you're not on those 3, you're done. And you need to be posting to your social media every day. And guess what? They do that too. I don't even like doing that. They do it for me. And so if you look at any of my posts on Gracie, Tampa South for the last whatever, it's all them. It's great copy, great pictures. They edit it. They do all that stuff. I want my time. I was doing it all. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to spend time with my kids, just like she said. That I made that decision a long time ago that I don't need to make I don't need to be a billionaire. I don't. I really don't. I need to make enough money to do whatever the hell I want, when I want, with who I want, and hang with my kids, go on vacation, save some money, and I'm good to go. I want my time. So yeah, get the site and Market Muscles. Use GoPro. It'll give you the leads. Create get some systems for answering the phone. It has to be answered the proper way. Get some system for when they come in, doing the tour, doing the sale, and get some systems for your coaches to teach a great class that people love, that they'll keep coming back to, and you're going to do great. And just don't try to do it yourself. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. It's already been done. I'm doing it right now. I'm not even doing anything. I'm just watching the systems. You always keep your hand on the pulse. That's why I like being there. I like to look around, see what's going on. Keep your hand on your business's pulse. You take it off the pulse, you go away for too long, whatever, without checking in, without whatever, it could die. So you got to always check in. They should always see your face if you want to be the manager there, or hire a manager where they could see that person's face. I like being the man. I like being there. I like it. I'm not going to lie. I like being the guy. I can still beat most people up on the mat. I don't know how long it's going to last. I enjoy that. I enjoy teaching people. I enjoy watching people succeed. I see people compete. We got Billy Q, Matt Frivola in the UFC. I love going with them to these fights and watching them win. I've been putting a decade of my life into these guys, and it's paying off for them now. And it's just awesome. So that's my advice to anybody watching this who has a school or has a business. It's all the same thing. The offer is great. You find an offer that's working, it's going to maybe just ride it till it dies. And then maybe one day it goes away. Refresh it with a new offer. The ones we've used is 1 free class. It seems to get people in the word free. 3 classes for $20. Sometimes people like to pay to get a little more value, right? I'll pay for it. I'd rather pay for it. I've had a guy once tell me, somebody was like, hey, this is a free thing. He's like, no, I'd rather pay. And they're like, why? Because you get what you pay for, right? Some people have that mentality. Mm-hmm. So just switch it over. When you find a winner, bust it out till it dies, and then rotate. And the
great advice. I mean, all the offers work. You've just got to find the one that works best for you and your team. So as we wrap up, just a couple of wisdom questions. If you were to start all over again, what's the one thing you would have done differently?
And you gave me this question before, and I thought about it, and I'm still thinking about it. But because there's so many things, right? But if I can narrow it down to one thing, I would have put 100% into it. I would have, you know, I wouldn't have fought and done that. I probably would have tried to get my fighting career out all the way and then start that and put everything into it. And I would have learned marketing and sales earlier. And really, you know, for our businesses, there wasn't a lot of people teaching it for MMA. But now there's no excuse now, guys. If you're starting your school this month, you plan to start it next month, maybe you're even a blue belt watching this, and one day you want to start a school, don't try to be, you know, Steve Jobs and invent something great. Like there's already, there's so few people who could do that, number one. And you don't have to do that. Just take a system that works. You know, my systems, Chris's system. There's so many people that do stuff and just implement it and like almost be, like, I don't want to say don't ask questions or don't overanalyze anything. Just freaking do it. Like analysis paralysis is a real thing. You could sit and plan and think and plan and think and, well, I wonder, and years go by that you just missed out on all that growth opportunity. Just find someone who's legit, and I already named you a bunch of people, and just take what they have already done and plug it in. And just sometimes the dumbest people make the best business owners because they don't overthink. They just, like the best fighters too, they just go in and slug. Like they're not thinking, what if he throws the punch and I dodge this way and he throws a kick? No, they just go in and hammer people. And it's the same thing with business. Just go in and be an implementing machine. And one thing I did hear about Lloyd Irvin, which I like, every seminar he used to go to, he would get the hotel room for 2 days more. And after the seminar was over, he would just sit in the hotel room by himself for 2 days and implement everything, as much as you can from a hotel room. And I was like, that's freaking brilliant, because you go home, you get back in your routine, and then you're like, oh, what was I supposed to implement? Do it right away, and don't think too much about it. Just freaking do it and watch what happens. You'll run into issues, but that's why you need a mentor. A mentor is the key. I'm reading this book now, Midge. You got to read it. It's freaking awesome. The Millionaire Mindset. I forget his name, but I'll send it to you. It's not the Millionaire, the one you're thinking of. It's a new one. It just came out in 21. It's freaking awesome. But he just kind of expands upon the mentor. It's like, once you're done reading that chapter, you're like, you're an idiot if you don't have a mentor in some way, shape, or form in whatever you want to get. It's like, I knew that, but now I'm like, oh, duh, you know, like, why would you do that to yourself and try to like make the mistakes? Always learn from someone else's mistakes. Try not to learn from your own. You don't have to learn from your own. Well, this person decided they wanted to go really big. Oh, that's another big mistake. People going huge right from the get-go. That little hallway I had was actually the right way to do it. Like, unless you have unlimited funds, which most people who start businesses don't, you start small and you grow and you grow. I'm in my 5th location. And the reason is because if I got that location first, I'd be dead in the water. So start small, grow into each space. It's okay to move. Just don't move too far. Get bigger, bigger, bigger. Keep your expenses low in the beginning, and then start, you know, hiring out and buying your time back to do what you truly want to do.
Well, Matt Arroyo just dropped some serious gold bars, so I hope you guys were taking notes. Speaking of mentors, Matt was my very first mentor, and I don't think you will find a more loyal friend than Matt Arroyo. Thank you so much for taking some time and sharing your story. I know our listeners got a ton of value, and thanks again, Matt. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.